Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
So many of you over the last 3 months have been asking me questions through email about not just becoming a stronger grounded man, but also about how I built my online freedom business. You see, I used to be broke, sleeping on my brother's couch with only $15 to my name, to now having a top-ranked men's podcast on iTunes. I'm a 3-time Amazon best-selling author. I sell out events where men come from around the world to attend my powerful trainings, and I'm working with amazing clients one-on-one. I share exactly what I would do if I was going to start over in this free training on becoming an influencer at kfminfluence.com. Again, that's kfminfluence.com. This will get you in the game, save you thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of trying to figure all of this out on your own. This is the stuff people charge for, but I'm giving it to you for free at kfminfluence.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Kute Blackson. He's the author of You Are the One, a bold adventure in finding your purpose, discovering the real you, and living and loving fully. And Kute has also been featured on Larry King, Dr. Drew, and Fox and Friends, and other major media outlets. He's been endorsed by an incredible list of New York Times bestselling authors, including Jack Canfield, Marianne Williamson, Don Miguel Ruiz, and John Gray, and Lisa Nichols, among many others. Kute, happy to have you here on the show.
Great to be here, my friend. I've been looking forward to it tremendously.
All right. And Kute, do you have a success quote? That's how we start off every show, or something that you've lived by. How has it helped you?
Yeah, there's a great quote by an author, an Indian teacher called Nisargadatta Maharaj. And there's a very simple quote that has had a big impact on my life. Simply this: the real does not die, and the unreal never lived. The real does not die, and the unreal never lived. And for me, that's inspired me tremendously, because whenever I think about changes in my life, whenever I think about relationships ending, or people moving out of my life, or things not working out, or whatever it is, when I remember this quote, it reminds me that what's real, what's truly real, cannot die. And if it dies, it's not real, you know. So it gives me a lot of inspiration to let go, and constant surrender and letting go of what doesn't serve me, so that I can continue evolving and growing myself, growing my consciousness, moving beyond my comfort zones and edges, and becoming more and more of who I really am, knowing that what's real, what's really real, which for me is the soul, is the infinite nature of my own consciousness, cannot die. So it's a kind of a spiritual quote. So
yeah, very spiritual. What if what you need to let go of is something that you really love?
I think many times what we need to let go of is something we really love. Now, I think that the challenge is sometimes we attain a level of success, or we really love someone, but we have perhaps reached a point where we're no longer growing, doing that very thing we love. Maybe it's a job. Maybe we've reached a point where that relationship and that person we really love, we're no longer growing and evolving and becoming let's just call it the highest version of ourselves together. So I think we can love something and love someone, and the love never has to change for a thing or a person. But I think we have to look at and ask ourselves honestly, am I growing? Am I evolving? Or am I stagnating, doing the same thing over and over and over again because I've done it before, because it worked in the past, because it produced a lot of success for me up until now? But I believe if we're not growing, doesn't matter, we're not succeeding. And that's I think a key distinction I always ask. So I would invite people to really look at that. Are you growing? Are you evolving? Are you becoming more of who you are, or are you just in a comfort zone? And there's a question I ask people actually is what are you doing that is actually working producing a level of success. What are you doing is actually working, but doing more of it is inhibiting the next level of your evolution, the next version of yourself. And I think to truly live an authentic life, to truly live a truly successful life. Now, I have a slightly different definition of success. Many times we define success by what you attain, what you achieve, money in the bank account, which I think is an aspect of success. However, I believe that real success, ultimate success, authentic success, a new paradigm of success is more and more not just based on the physicality or the materiality, but the degree to which we are becoming who we really are, the degree to which we are becoming and manifesting our full potential, our true selves, and the evolution of our own consciousness. Because to me, at the end of our lives, when we die, you take none of this stuff with you. No company you've built, no fame, no fortune, not even a relationship. But all we get to take with us is the evolution of our own soul, the evolution of our own consciousness. So I think it's about growth, my friend. And sometimes we do have to let go of certain things we love that may be inhibiting our growth.
What does it mean to be reaching your full potential? What does that look like to you?
For me personally, it looks like for me that I'm becoming who I really am, that I am able to express myself fully, that I'm able to not contract in fear and competition and jealousy but that I'm able to actually express who I really am, that I'm able to, for me, one of the key things of full potential is that I'm able to love fully, the degree to which I'm able to love you and love each person as much as possible. And I believe that there's so much love inside of us that we all have. There's so much love that we have to give. And that often doesn't get to express because we're afraid, because we're stuck in certain patterns, because we're sabotaged, because we're in our minds or stuck in our ego. So for me, part of that full potential is the degree to which personally, the degree to which I'm loving each day, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, as much as possible, uninhibited. So the more I can do that, I believe, the more I'm tapping into my potential, and I believe that, we incarnate into this human experience, as souls having this human experience in this body, in this personality. And we're here to me, we're kind of, life is like a school, as a metaphor, and we're here to learn certain lessons. And I believe that and the way we learn those lessons are through different experiences. So for me, part of reaching my full potential is the degree to which I am learning the lessons that any given moment, any given person, any given situation, any given relationship is giving me, and the degree to which I'm learning those lessons. So I think it's important to keep feeling into, why is this happening? Why is this situation happening? Why is this person showing up? Why is this thing happening to me? And what's the lesson inherent in the situation or the relationship, and learning that? And I feel that's part of how we also uncover and tap into and live our full potential.
It sounds like to me that you have fully embraced being a student of life, and that life is constantly giving you situations. It could be challenges, it could be success, but you're viewing it from the lens of a student. Is this jiving with you? Is this right? Is this that's what I'm getting from you? Is you're constantly looking for the lesson and using that to grow, to reach your full potential.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's why we're here, my friend. We're here to grow and evolve and learn and become who we really are and manifest the full potential for why our souls have been born. I think we're not just, people ask, well, what's the purpose of life? I don't think the purpose of life is just to wake up, make money, have sex, go to sleep, go on vacation, although all those things are great and magical, and I hope everyone has lots of it, I feel that underneath it all, underneath the goal line, attainment of goals, is the soul line. And we are here on this planet to learn lessons and understand ourselves. And ultimately, I think the learning orientation to life is to realize and reawaken. And I would say, remember, I'm not going to say find, but remember who we really are. When we're born as children, we're born free. We're born in touch with our essence. We're born into, you look into a child's eyes, right? A child is free. A child will jump on a table naked. It doesn't care. Am I fat? Do you think I can sing? What do you think of me? It doesn't care. A child is freely self-expressed, giggling. A child is in touch with the infinite, God, consciousness, whatever label you want to put on it, I don't care. It's just in touch with that life force. And I think when we look into our child's eyes, we're reminded of that innocence. We're reminded of that we're reminded of that something, that essential nature that we lose touch with. And we lose touch with it because when we're born, we're going to life, we meet our parents, some of which are a little crazy sometimes, some of which have their own, they're doing the best they can, right?
They are. The best they can with what they got, yeah.
They have their own issues. They've been programmed by their grandparents and their parents, and now they're just teaching us what they learned, So a couple of things happen is we come in these bright beings, and then we meet our parents, and we start learning all sorts of strategies. Two things happen. We start learning all sorts of strategies to ultimately avoid pain. Maybe they weren't around. Maybe they abused us. Maybe they were mean to us. Maybe they just neglected us. And it was painful. So we learn all sorts of ways as children to disconnect from feeling the pain. And we learn to shut down, disconnect, suppress the pain so that we didn't have to feel that. That was number one. And in doing that, we shut off the flow, the connection to the free-flowing sense of feeling and energy within us. The other part is we learn to go out into the world, and we start going out into the world with our parents at school. The sense of, who do I need to be in order for you to love me? We started to create a mechanism, a persona called me, called ourselves. Maybe if I'm the nice guy, maybe if I'm the funny person, maybe if I'm the yes girl, maybe whatever it is, we start developing all sorts of personas in order to fit in, be loved, be approved, get validation. And then these two things, basically, it becomes who we think we are. And we say, well, no, this is just who I am. I am this way. But we haven't realized that we've actually become conditioned to be that way based on survival and getting certain needs met. So I think, to me, part of life is we come into this whole crazy, amazing experience called life, awake, in touch with the essence. Then we get conditioned and we lose touch with the essence. And part of the process of life, I feel, is to uncondition ourselves, peel the layers away, and remember the essential nature of our being, which is pure, which is whole, which is complete, which is perfect. Underneath all those layers of conditioning, it's really who we truly are. And I think
how do we uncondition ourselves and peel off those layers that we have started to wear? It's like we're wearing all of these layers of clothing that we've picked up throughout our life, and it's really this heavy bag. It's like this weight that we're carrying.
Yeah, exactly. I think you said it perfectly. We're wearing all these layers of clothing. The thing is, we don't know. That's the thing. Many times we don't know, because what served us as children, certain mechanisms, certain ways of being, what served that. Let me give you a quick analogy for those that might be listening. I'll keep this short, but it's a quick analogy just to give an example of how we get conditioned and then what to do. So I remember having a client many years ago when came to one of my journeys in India. And I remember taking him through a process. And I'll never forget looking at this guy the first time. And as I looked at this guy, he was he walked in like a mouse, but he was a powerhouse. And I looked at him the first time and I said, bro, I just looked him straight in the eyes and I said, you're living a lie. You're acting. You are a lion who's living like a mouse. And he was a little shocked. And as I started working with him, I remember on one of the days, I took him through a process. The next day, he came to me with tears in his eyes. He'd been crying for 24 hours. And he says, and let me give you a little background. This guy is a guy who married a very powerful woman, a woman who was very outspoken. And he couldn't understand why he wasn't able to build a successful business and go to the next level, even though he desperately wanted to and felt he had so much to give. And here was a guy whose entire identity was, I'm just the shy guy. I'm the guy in the background. My wife is the one she's the front person. I'm the shy guy. And that had been his background and his story about who he thought he was. So I tell each person listening, don't think that who you are is who you really are. So as I started working with this guy, he came to me after about 24 hours with tears in his eyes and says, I had an epiphany. You asked me some questions and I had a vision I wasn't even conscious of. There are so many things that we are not even conscious of. So the first step is we have to start becoming aware, number one, that we are actually conditioned. Because we don't know that we're conditioned. We think who we are is who we are, and it's not necessarily who we are. So we have to be willing to not know for a moment, to not be so sure of who we are, because we're pretty sure of who we think we are. So as I worked with this guy, he came to me with tears in his eyes and he says, Kute, I had this image, this memory, this recollection of when I was 5 years old. And he said to me, I was sexually molested by my uncle at that time. And I didn't know what was going on. And I just, I was told not to say anything. In a nutshell, cut long story short, he was this amazing guy, this bright guy who was at 5 years old, was full of light, full of effervescence, full of radiant, full of light. And something happened that shouldn't have happened. It wasn't okay. This thing happened to him and he shut down, became disconnected, suppressed. And on top of that was told that there will be severe consequences if he said anything. So you can imagine what happened. He just totally disconnected from himself and unconsciously made a decision that it's not safe to be seen in the world. It's not safe for people to see me because when I'm seen, when I'm bright, when I'm loud, when I'm big, when I'm magnificent, bad things happen. So then his unconscious protection mechanism was to go through his life hiding. Because if no one sees me, if you don't see me, you can't hurt me. So he carried this whole identity of being the shy guy, the quiet person his entire life. And that wasn't who he really was. So we have to start becoming aware. Number one, awareness is the first key to transforming the layers. Because if we're not aware, we are just simply, we think we have free will, but we are simply living out the patterns of our conditioning, thinking this is who we are. And it wasn't. So this guy thought he was the shy, quiet guy. And that wasn't who he really was. It was who he'd been conditioned to be. And we have to be aware that, oh my goodness, I have been conditioned. And then we have to start questioning that conditioning. Is this who I really am? Is this what I believe? What is really going on inside? We have to start questioning ourselves. But then we have to actually do the hard work, the hard, intensive, courageous transformational work, which is to feel the emotions and the feelings and the layers, which isn't a gimmick. It's not an easy thing. To feel the layers of feelings, emotions that we have learned to suppress, often at a very young age, in order to disconnect and not feel the pain. Because all of those feelings that we don't feel just develop layers, as you said, like clothing, layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers, that then disconnect us from that underlying brightness, that underlying essence that is our true hearts that's inside. And so that's something we have to go through, a process of feeling. There's an old quote, in order to heal it, you have to feel it, but a process of feeling those things that we've suppressed and truly through feeling, letting them go. No feelings last forever. Many times we're afraid to feel because we feel like if I really feel things I haven't felt, it will never end. And that's not true. But if we're willing to feel it, then we can let it go. And then we can peel those layers away and heal ourselves and really transform through a process of really learning to love ourselves.
Now, sometimes those layers that we wear are actually there to protect ourselves because we've been hurt in the past or deeply hurt. Something that is really tough had happened to us in the past. And so there's a reason why we are that way. I feel like there's a sense of forgiveness that has to happen here, or being able to find that peace and be free. How do we work on forgiving, or is this even necessary? I'm just concluding that we might need to forgive someone that wronged us in order to be free, like really be able to let go and be free. I feel like there's forgiveness and peace that has to be made first.
For sure. I think in order to get to it's hard to get to forgiveness if we're not even feeling. And that's the key thing. Many times, even in the spiritual field, we go, okay, I should just forgive. But if I'm still carrying, whether it's on the surface, maybe anger, and obviously it's going to be different for different people, but maybe anger, hurt, sadness, shame. If I'm still carrying that, but I've suppressed that, or I'm not even in touch with that, or I'm not allowing myself to feel it, it's hard to get to forgiving my uncle or my friend or my parents if I don't let myself first go through the process of feeling all the feelings I've suppressed, so that I can release them. And there's now the space to then move to forgiveness. So to me it's a process of feeling and then going into forgiveness, which then moves us into the possibility of freedom. And freedom is a result of feeling and forgiveness. So to me, there's a process that has to be kind of unfolded and not bypassed because I don't think we can bypass our feelings or bypass our emotions. And that's something we try and do. But I feel like to truly heal, we have to feel. And then forgiveness, I think, can happen that much more easily and effortlessly, but also because we have honored our own process, because we've honored our own emotion, because we've honored what it is that we went through, and that we've been able to release that, which makes us much more able to forgive. And to me, we don't forgive just for the other person. I think we really forgive to free ourselves.
Right. Once we get to this point where we start to free ourselves, we start to really, we want to develop more of that self-love. What is the importance of loving yourself, and what are the keys to loving yourself and really being fulfilled?
Big questions, bro. Big questions. I think, here's what I'll say. For healing to happen, for real healing to happen, you can't mentalize it. You can't do simply affirmations to override it. You can't suppress it. You can't do a spiritual bypass. Real healing is the application, bringing love to those parts of yourself that are hurting. Real healing is bringing love to those parts of yourself that are hurting. So the way I see it is, when parts of ourselves are hurting, whether it's we're feeling hurt, we're feeling shame, we're feeling fear, we're feeling abandonment, to me, this isn't a bad thing. This isn't like something's wrong. It's just a part of you that it's a signal. These feelings are simply a signal of a part of you that's needing your attention. And I think the more we're able to recognize that and have a different relationship with ourselves and not judge ourselves for feeling everything that we're feeling, but we start learning to say, okay, wow, if I can start bringing loving as in compassion to myself, compassion to those parts of myself, then healing can happen. And one of the things I also say is, the issue, many times we make the issue, but the real issue is not the issue. The real issue is how we relate to ourselves. And if we're able to create a space of compassion for ourselves, because many of the things that we did, that we judge ourselves for, that sometimes we find it so hard to forgive, many of the things that we didn't do, many of the behaviors, many of the ways of being that we did that may have hurt ourselves, hurt other people, if we can realize the underlying and what drove our decisions and our behaviors, good or bad, often was an underlying positive intention. That underneath that, based on pain from childhood, we were seeking something. We were trying to get love. We were trying to get validation. We were trying to feel good. We were trying to get some sense of wholeness, often through some kind of dead-end path. And if we're able to realize that driving everything we've ever done is a positive intention, we were trying to get some sense of wholeness, completeness, but the method might have been a lot off. And I think when we can shift that and realize that, oh wow, I didn't, even though I caused pain and suffering, I didn't, underlying at the deepest level, I didn't mean harm. I was trying to get this for myself. It was a little misguided. Then I think it helps us reframe who we are and what we're doing to be able to at least bring some compassion to ourselves. And that's when the shift can happen, because often what keeps us stuck is we see what we're doing. We see our sabotaging behaviors. We see our sabotaging patterns. We see what we're doing. And we judge ourselves and we beat ourselves up. And what I found is the more you judge yourself, all you do is reinforce the very thing you're trying to change. The more you judge, that you can't heal, you can't beat yourself up into transformation. You can't beat yourself up into enlightenment or wholeness. Ultimately, when we're able to realize the underlying positive intentions and shift and realize, wow, I was just doing the best I could with what I had at the time, and based on those resources, and shift that, then we can move into a relationship with ourselves as we are and meet ourselves with compassion. Even though it may not be profound loving, but just meet ourselves with compassion. Hopefully that compassion can open the seed, plant the seed, open the door for a bit more loving and a little bit more loving, and each time a little bit more loving. And, sometimes, just the last thing I'll say, sometimes we judge ourselves. And then if we find ourselves judging ourselves, I've seen many folks on the spiritual path, we judge ourselves, and then we judge ourselves for judging ourselves. Like, shit, why am I judging myself? And I think then we're judging the judgment. But if we're able to say, okay, I'm going to bring compassion to myself no matter what. That means even when I'm not bringing compassion and loving to myself, let me bring compassion to that. The fact that I'm not bringing loving to myself right now. And just hold the ability to hold ourselves with that spaciousness, to hold ourselves as a loving mother would, to hold ourselves, realizing you and I we're in this human experience, doing the best that we can. We're in this human experience, and we're never going to be perfect. We weren't born to be perfect. We're going to screw up. We're going to make mistakes because ultimately we're here to learn. And if we can realize that and have compassion with ourselves and compassion with our process and cultivate patience with ourselves along the path, then the seeds for self-loving can be planted, and then we can start bringing, and then that grows, and each time we don't indulge beating ourselves up or bashing ourselves or being harsh on us, each time we don't indulge that and bring a little bit more compassion, something changes. Just day by day, moment by moment, and then the love can expand, and then we can start bringing more love to ourselves. One of the simple daily practices that really helped me many years ago was imagining. It's a very simple practice. It's a known practice, but it really is. It was very powerful for me in the formative stages of my transformation, was imagining that young child, the young coot, those of you that may be listening might just imagine that kid you, that little kid you. And when I would come face to face and just see that little 6-year-old, that 8-year-old kid inside of me, and I just allowed my heart to feel that kid who was so innocent and beautiful and tender and just wanted to be loved, it just allowed my heart to open. And I think cultivating, let's say 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day to visualize the kid part of you and feel the kid part of you and feel what you were going through, and to simply speak to it, to simply bring loving, to bring compassion, to bring kindness, and maybe provide a sense of feeling and dimension and quality of what that part of us didn't get, and to give it to ourselves, I think is a really key step.
I think a big part of this whole really loving yourself, I think for me it was really important was just learning how to stay present and not think about the past or really living in the past. It could be this bad thing that happened. It could be a past breakup. It could be some mistake I made in business. Is something that's really still in my mind, or even just being really anxious about the future, like really excited about what's going to happen, but kind of nervous and just really looking forward to the future because I think it's going to be better than today. I have learned that being present is honestly one of the best gifts that we all have control of. No one can take that away from us. Yet it's one thing that I feel we often neglect the most, which is being present. I mean, how do you, I feel like you're a guy who's going to be very present. How do you stay present when so much is going on in your life?
I think it requires intention, and I think you're right on. I mean, if you can't stay present, then it's hard to love yourself. So I think one thing I'm constantly noticing is here's a question I ask myself: where's my attention right now? Where is my attention right now? And checking in with where is my attention right now? And asking myself that, and I ask myself that throughout the day. And one of the ways I stay present is simply through my breath and noticing my breath, staying connected to my body, staying connected to the sense of the physicality. Because if I can just at least be connected to my body, it allows me to bring my attention into this moment, into my breath. Because if I can stay present to my breath, then it's hard for my attention to wander off. So connecting to my body, connecting to my breath, and asking myself the question: where is my attention right now? And noticing when my attention is going off and bringing it back, and noticing when it's wandering and bringing it back, and noticing, and that cultivation, I think that practice, the more we do it, the better we get. The more we start observing and bring it back, the more focused we can be in the moment.
I like that. You got it. You're a really interesting guy here, Kute. You got so much wisdom here. I'm just curious. It really helps me, and I think it really helps the audience understand more about yourself. Sure. What is your daily routine? What's a day look like for you, Kute? What time do you wake up? What are you doing in the morning? What are the things that you do on a daily basis that really get you these results that you have in your life? And I'm not talking like financial results. I'm just talking you're really alive and really present and really free and, full of life. And that's what I'm interested in.
I love these nitty gritty questions, man. They're beautiful. So one thing, honestly, it starts very simply. I usually wake up around 6 o'clock, 6 something in the morning, and religiously, without compromise, and I mean without compromise, I exercise. Very simply. And I move my body usually for an hour and a half a day. And that's, 45 minutes of cardio, some light weights, stretching, what have you. But that is religious. No matter what I'm doing, 7 days a week, I physically move my body because that just sets the foundation for my entire day. It opens up my mind, opens up my heart, and it just brings me alive and awake in relationship to my body, gets everything moving. And I think it's one of the most important things we can do is to get our body moving, because our physiology affects how we feel, affects our state, affects everything, and our state affects how we perceive life. So I won't compromise that. People often ask, well, how do you get yourself to work out every day? To me, I've made it a choice to not be a choice. It's not even a choice. So that means I don't have to think about, am I going to work out today? Should I do it today? Should I push the snooze button? It's just what's so. It's a choice. It's not choice. And that sets the tone for my whole day. Then I'll usually meditate for, 20, 25 minutes, which just consists of me sitting there and becoming quiet and dropping down, allowing my attention to drop down and just becoming quiet, observing the thoughts, letting them float by, and just resting into the deeper dimension of myself. And then, the rest of the day, my friend, is different. Each day is different. Today I have some clients. I have 3 interviews for my book today, one with yourself.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to it. And so each day is different. Some days I'm with clients, some days I'm speaking. I was just in Bali, and then I'm facilitating for 18 hours, 19 hours a day, nonstop. But even then, when I'm facilitating 19, 20 hours a day, I exercise in the morning. Even if it means I sleep 3 hours at night for 14 days straight, I exercise. And that, to me, that's the foundation. To me, to really live a fulfilled life, a free life, to be free. You say, well, Kurt, you seem free. You're an interesting guy. Yeah, but here's the thing. For me, I believe we have to develop a level of mastery. And I found if I can't master myself and lead myself, how the hell am I going to lead another person? If I can't get myself to do certain basic things like exercise, how do I inspire and lead someone else? So I believe that self-mastery starts with oneself. And that greatness, for me, I'm committed to fulfilling, you could talk about full potential, fulfilling my potential, fulfilling my greatness in life. That's not in comparison to anyone else, just it's an inner game of me being the best each day that I can be for myself. Ultimately, only I will know that. But to me, greatness is not something that is like bestowed upon us from the heavens. Greatness is not something based on which family you were born into. To me, it's a moment to moment to moment to moment to moment choice. So I am always constantly making moment to moment to moment choices within myself. And I think part of why I believe that real aliveness isn't based, you talk about feeling alive, real aliveness isn't based on, we're often looking for aliveness outside. Well, if I can have this orgasm, if I can drink that thing, if I can do that thing, if I can have that experience. And we're often basing our happiness and aliveness on experiences outside of ourselves. The challenge is every single experience that you have is temporary. Every single experience that you have is impermanent. And if your happiness, if your joy, if your aliveness is based on those I'm not saying they're not great, but simply based on those things, you'll go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. But I think the real source of aliveness is the more we connect with who we really are beyond our egoic conditioning, beyond our persona, beyond our identity. The more we can connect with our souls, the more we can connect with our spirits, the more we can connect with our true essential nature, that the nature that was unconditioned when we were born and when we were children. So for me, that's really been my commitment in life, is to uncondition myself, which isn't simply a one moment technique, but is a process. It's a lifestyle. It's a process of questioning, of self-inquiry, of letting go of all the shit, all the emotions, all the stuff that we carry, and just letting that go. And I think when we let go of what we're not and who we've been told we should be, and we truly are present and we check into our hearts and we dare to tell the truth to ourselves and live I say, look, happiness is pretty simple. Tell the truth, feel the truth, tell the truth, embrace the truth, live the truth. And I think if we're truly living the truth of what we really, really feel and who we are, happiness is natural, and so I've refused to compromise that. So I would just invite each person to also look at where you might be lying to yourself in life, what lies you might be telling, what BS you might be spinning and rationalizing, and where you might be settling, and tell the truth. Because I think if you can tell the truth to yourself as to where you're at, where you've been settling, and make and align your actions with your deepest knowing, with your deepest truth, then your life and the people in your life, the situations in your life and your life also will start to reflect the authenticity of who you really are.
Yeah. Yeah. So much is happening with this right here. I feel like I'm letting this sink in, putting this all together here. What would you say are common mistakes that prevent people from having more personal freedom in their life?
Number one, all the ways we are constantly lying to ourselves, pretending to not know. And we like, oh, no, this relationship isn't so bad. It's like, no. And we basically bullshit ourselves. That's one. You could call, I guess we could call it a mistake or something that gets in the ways is, oh, this job isn't so, it's kind of not bad. No, I think we have to give up lying to ourselves. So that's number one. The other thing in terms of a mistake, a block, is believing and thinking that we are our minds, and believing and thinking that we are our thoughts. And I would just say to everyone listening is the degree to which you live inside of simply the limitation of the mind is the degree to which you cannot reach your full potential. We must ultimately go beyond our minds. So recognize that your thoughts are not real. Your thoughts are not as real as you think. We have a constant stream of 65,000 thoughts a day, most of which are the same as yesterday. And our thoughts are constantly, often, if you've noticed, our mind is constantly selling us, well, you can't do that. Well, maybe you can't, maybe you're not enough. What about this? Who do you think? Constantly we all have that chatter in the mind about what we should do, and most of which has been passed down to us from our childhood, from our parents, from our programming. But I say just because a thought is in your mind doesn't mean it's real. It's just a thought, and every thought will pass. The suffering, the mistake happens is when the thought arises and we think, oh, it's real. And then we jump on that thought and we identify with that thought of not enoughness. We identify with that thought or that limitation. And then it takes us down an entire, pathway. And so the mind is constantly selling us a whole bunch of stuff, most of which is not real. So we have to learn to question the mind. Is that true? Can I know that for sure? Is that fact or is that fiction? Because many times we're believing thoughts that are fiction. Oh, it's scary. Oh my God, they're going to leave. No. We have to question. Is that fact or is that fiction? And start developing a whole different relationship with our mind. And one of the ways that's helped me is I just have really practiced observing my mind, really observing my thoughts, observing my mind. Because when we can observe our thoughts and observe our mind, then there's the space to start witnessing our thoughts and all those stories that most of the time we've been believing those stories and living inside of the prison of those stories. And I look at anyone great, whether it's a Gandhi, whether it's a Muhammad Ali, whether it's Bob Marley, whether it's a Martin Luther King, whether it's a Buddha, whether it's Elon Musk, or they were constantly going beyond their thoughts and not simply buying into their thoughts, buying into the limitations of the mind. So that's another mistake I've seen is with the ways we're constantly buying into the thoughts, buying into the mind.
Yeah, I'm getting that we have to really question our beliefs about ourselves because some of these long-held beliefs could be false and they could be really running our lives. These scripts that we've installed that are old, that don't actually, they're not true. So exactly. What happens to someone if they don't observe their thoughts, if they don't question these feelings, if they don't really take some time and look inward and ask themselves some of these questions and really question their beliefs? What happens to them if they go 30 years, 40 years, and they don't ever do this?
You're screwed. I mean, that's kind of,
yeah. What does that life look like?
I think that life looks like a limited life. That life looks like a life of normality, a life of settling, maybe being, I think it will look different for different people, but a life of feeling like I think we all feel there's so much potential inside of me. There's so much I want to give, so much, and a life of feeling like, God, there's all these dreams and things I want to create and manifest, but we're just sort of existing. Just going to work, taking a paycheck, doing what we need to do to get by, to function, to survive. And maybe some of us will be kind of comfortable or content. It could be extreme, but some of us might be just comfortable, content, going to work, coming home. And it's okay. And we're existing. But I think deep down, we know that there is something pulsing in our hearts that's calling us, something more inside of us, a dream or a vision. And I think a life where we listen to the limitations of the mind means we end up not putting our gifts out there into the world. We end up not writing those books. We end up not doing the podcast show. We end up not doing those things, and we just sort of exist, survive, and live what's normal. And we buy into what everyone else says we should be doing with our lives, which is just living what's normal. Years ago, look, my father has 300 churches. I grew up in the church as a minister. I left everything behind. But when I was 14, I was ordained in the ministry. I was supposed to take over his whole operation, hundreds of thousands of people. And let me tell you, I realized that this was not my path. It took me 3 to 4 years to develop the courage, because my mind was so convincing me that, oh my God, Coop, don't do it. If you leave, then your father will never speak to you again. If you leave, then how are you going to survive? If you leave, all these fears. And I looked at my life and I looked at the future and I realized if I follow the expected path of my life, the path that's set out for me, this would be a kind of a soul suicide, and I would effectively be living dead. And it was so painful. It was so painful. And I realized I might achieve success by material standards on a certain level through people's eyes. But in my heart, I could feel the unfulfillment that I would be living. I decided at a young age, nothing, absolutely nothing. I could have everything in the world, but if I don't have myself, nothing is worth it. So I think what's on the other side is when we truly follow our souls and we truly follow our hearts and we truly follow our dreams. I believe that, if you're listening to this conversation, that I believe that if you have a dream, your dream we think we choose our dreams, but I believe your dreams chose you for a reason. And your dreams our dreams choose us because we are the perfect people based on our story, our history, our heartbreaks, our successes, our ups, our downs, our imperfections. You are the perfect person to fulfill that dream. You are the perfect person to fulfill that vision, the vision that life itself is seeking to express through you. So your dreams chose you for a reason. And to me, in that, it's bigger than you. In that, life is seeking to manifest itself through each of us. And I think first we have to be willing to say yes. And we may not know how the hell are we going to pull this dream up? How the hell are we going to, create this vision? How are we going to do it? We don't have to know. I believe that what we have to do is first say yes, because the mind's intelligence is finite, it's limited, but the soul's intelligence is infinite. It knows there is an intelligence inside of us that is living and breathing us, that is the same intelligence, call it whatever you want, pure consciousness, innate intelligence is the same intelligence that is functioning the stars and the sun and the moon and the very force of creation from the beginning of time, and is breathing my heart, your heart, 7 billion people. The same intelligence is living you and I. And I believe that when we truly surrender to that, then we become alive, because life starts living through us. And if I look at anyone great, man, if I look at the miracle workers of the world, the Buddhas, the MLKs, Martin Luther Kings, the Mother Teresas, the great ones, they were surrendered, man. They let go. They surrendered to being lived by life. And that's when miracles happened. So I think that's the life that's available to us all. These great ones just showed us what we're all capable of.
Do you think that everyone has something that's great inside of them? When some people might be listening to this, they might be thinking, I actually like, because if they like their job and they kind of just like what they're doing, and they're not interested in pursuing something more. Do you believe that that they do have something that's kind of buried inside of them that they're not listening to? They haven't searched for it, Or are some people, they're content like with where they are and that's their way?
Nice question. I believe everyone has something great inside of them. Okay. Everyone. Now, let me clarify. I believe everyone has something great inside of them because they are life, because they are infinite. So regardless whether you're cleaning the street, whether you're the president, whether you're Elon Musk, whether you're Larry Page and Sergey Brin of Google, whether you're Zuckerberg, whether you're Oprah, whether you are teaching in a classroom, just the fact that you are alive, just the fact that you are being lived and breathed by consciousness, you are great. It's your essence. It's your beingness. It's what you are. Now, how that expresses in the world and what that looks like in the world in the form of your gift, in the form of your art, I think that everyone has different and unique parts to play in the grand symphony of life. And no part is better or worse. And I think we just have to acknowledge what's there. And someone's purpose and gift in life may be to be a mother and be the best mother to 3 kids and to do that to the fullest. And someone's purpose in life may be to be a teacher and do that to a fullest. And someone's purpose in life may be to be the CEO of, Facebook or Google, whatever it is. Everyone has a different way that expresses. And I think we just have to be honest with what is that for me and not rationalize, not pretend, not lie, not settle, but be authentic. And I think it's not about even what it looks like, but it's about what it feels like and where we're coming from. So it's not about comparing oneself because, if you look at like a musical symphony, right? Someone's playing the guitar, someone's playing the drums. But, I remember seeing Carlos Santana play a concert in Rome 2 weeks ago. And there was one guy who all he did was he just played the tambourine. And it didn't seem like a huge deal. But let me tell you, when he stopped playing the tambourine, it affected the entire performance. So everyone, I think we all have a part to play. And I think when we can honor what our unique gift is, not compared to anyone else, what our unique gift is. So I'd ask each person to sit with, what is your unique gift? And are you giving your unique gift fully? And if not, why not? And I would say, if not, the time is now to give your unique gift. Because when you don't give that unique gift, and it could be anything, could be the smallest thing in the world. It could just be like saying, my unique gift is to love each person I meet. And that's it. And I work in the supermarket and just, that's my gift. Give it because it all makes a difference.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Everyone has a part to play in creating something great.
Absolutely.
I really like that. No, this has been incredible. And I want to now take it a little bit deeper here and go into the knowledge round, Coot. So are you ready for the knowledge round?
Let's do it, man. Bro.
Haven't this whole show been the knowledge round? Yeah.
Have you ever wanted to become a highly paid online thought leader in your space? Have you ever wanted to be an author and get that book out? Have you ever wanted to speak on stage about something that you were passionate about and get paid for it? Have you ever wanted to sell courses online passively and wake up to seeing deposits made into your bank account while you were sleeping? So if you're interested in learning how to become a highly paid online thought leader and doing something similar to what I do, then you're going to love this free training I made for you where I share the exact steps I would take to build an online thought leader business if I was going to start all over. Go to kfminfluence.com to get access to this training. Again, that's kfminfluence.com. You see, people kept asking me how I built Knowledge for Men in a relatively short amount of time. So I created this training for you to save you time and money so that you can go out there and make a massive impact and income in the world doing what matters most to you. Go to kfminfluence.com to get this training now. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
My first question for you, Coot, is what advice would you give to someone who's feeling really lost and unsure about what they should be doing, really confused about what is their purpose? They don't know where to begin.
Man, such good questions. Do we have another 4 hours? I'll try and condense. I would say, number one, many times when we're feeling lost, really get clear if you're bullshitting yourself or not. Really get clear if you're just spinning a smoke screen of confusion around yourself, and ask yourself if you really, do you really not know? Because here's an analogy I give to people that sometimes come to my events. And I say, if I put a gun to your head or a gun to everyone in your life that you loved. And I said, tell me your purpose now. And you have 25 seconds to do it. Otherwise they die. Almost every single person when I play that game tells me within 10 seconds, this is what I would do. So I really feel that there is a part of us that knows. So I would say first, really check and own whatever the inkling, even if it's small, and even if it's not crystallized, own that knowing and let go of the game of, I don't know, I have no idea, because that just sets you up to just be stuck forever, So first, own the knowing, and I would say, secondly, eliminate all distractions, because sometimes we're constantly distracting ourselves with social media and this and going. Eliminate distractions so you can really listen. You can really listen to the intelligence, the whispering of your soul to guide you. Because if you listen, likely you will feel the nudgings. Sometimes that directive won't happen like, hey, go and do this, this, and this. It might just be like, maybe go to that bookstore, or call that person, or what if you tried and I think when we have to create the space and the quietness on a daily basis to listen to our souls, because if we listen, our soul's always talking to us. And then the myth is thinking you have to have it all figured out and have your whole purpose on a piece of paper before you start. I think you don't have to know, but there is, if you follow the nudging, if you follow the inkling, if you follow the clue of your soul, and you take a step, then you take another step. Each step, I believe, will reveal to you what's next in life, may reveal to you what you need to know on a need-to-know basis. And your purpose will often be revealed to you in the process of life itself.
Thank you. And Q, what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
What was holding me back?
Yeah.
When I look back a long time ago, I would say, the first thing that honestly popped into my mind, I would say the desire to please every single person and the desire to be liked and loved by everyone. Wanting you to like me, wanting you to like me, wanting you to like me, wanting you to like me. So what I ended up doing was kind of like becoming whoever I thought you wanted me to be. And in doing so, I ended up giving away so much of my power. And what I realized as I started to really love myself, honor who I am, my unique expression, is I realized that no matter what I do, what I be, there's always going to be someone that doesn't like me, and it's okay. And what I also realized was if you're up to big things in life, if you have a big vision or you're making impact on the world, likely if someone doesn't like you, and if every single person loves you, probably you're doing something wrong. So I just reframed the whole thing. And so I had to let go of my desire to be liked and loved and by everyone and being what everyone else wanted me to be, and get clear on this is who I am, and rest in that and own that and be able to go to sleep at night knowing that I'm being myself. And that's the shift that happened.
Yeah. I like that. And I know this is going to be a tough one here for you, but Q, what would you say are 3 of your most influential books and why?
3 of my most influential books.
Yeah.
I would say at different stages of my life.
Yeah.
Different books were influential at different stages. Wow. There was a book. Wow, that's a tough one. There was a book by Shakti Gawain when I was age 8 or 9 called Creative Visualization. So simple, so basic, but at that stage of my life was a radical alteration in my consciousness based on the understanding of, wait a second, I can visualize something, and how I feel, how I think has an impact. Second book that impacted my life at age 11 was being a poor kid growing up in London, was reading a book by Tony Robbins called Unlimited Power. At that stage, it impacted my life tremendously because it opened me up to, growing up in the church, I thought the church was the only way you could impact people's lives. And here was someone who was doing seminars in ballrooms, and it's like, wow, there's some new possibilities, a new world of what's possible. The third book that impacted my life, and still does, and there's certain books that impact your life and then you move on. And there's certain books that no matter where you are, if you read it based on the level of your own consciousness, it will give you something new. And it's the book I Am That by an Indian mystic enlightened teacher, Nisargadatta Maharaj. I Am That, classic book, and it had a huge impact on my life.
Really good books. I'll have to throw some of those on my wish list here. And now, this is more of a scenario here for you. Imagine you have 60 seconds with your 25-year-old self. If you can envision what he's up to, 25 years old, personally, professionally, relationships, what would you tell him to do? And what would you tell him not to do?
What would I tell him to do? Wow. Let me think back. 25-year-old self. I would say I think it'd be pretty simple, bro. I would simply say, Coot, I would say, you're whole, perfect, and you have nothing to prove to anyone. Be yourself uncompromisingly. There'll be no shortage of people that tell you what you should be, who you should be, and I want you to be all sorts of different things. Just be yourself. Trust your knowing, and just trust the process that everything is working out on your behalf. The universe is supporting you, and everything is working out on your behalf. You don't have to stress. You don't have to freak out. You don't. Just trust the process and enjoy every single moment. You don't have to be in such a rush to get somewhere that you think you need to be. There's a timing for everything. Trust it.
Thank you. I think that really puts a lot of us at ease and makes just really enjoy the journey instead of trying to rush through the journey, because it's a journey.
It's a journey, man.
And it's not one to be rushed, but one to be enjoyed and lived. And so thank you for that. Would you say much of that, would that be your philosophy on life as well?
Yeah. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process, man. It's short. Life is short. None of us know when that moment will come when we're taken, when our life is over. So often we're constantly thinking, I should be somewhere other than I am. I believe that you are exactly where you're meant to be until you're not. So while you're there, savor it. Learn the lessons, become, squeeze every ounce of juice out of it, because if you do that, you will become more of who you are. You will evolve and become who you need to be for the next level. And so often we're trying to bypass that to get there, but we're not actually ready yet. In essence, we're not ripe yet. So if we allow ourselves to ripen where we are, then we're ready. And when we're ready, the next level of our life relationship meets us, because we are aligned vibrationally, mentally, physically, emotionally. We're coherently aligned and ready for the manifestation of the next level in our lives.
Yeah. Very powerful. And Coot, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here in the knowledge round. What's exciting you now today? Like, what's really getting you out of bed in the morning?
Honestly, what's really exciting me is this is not a plug, but it is my book. You Are the One. I've waited a very long time to write a book. I read hundreds of books growing up. I had a vision and a dream to write a book for many years, and I waited a long time intentionally because I wanted to have something original, something unique to say. And it finally came out a few weeks ago, and I am excited I'm excited like a mosquito in a nudist colony, my friend. I am excited and on fire with the book, because it is the manifestation and the realization of a long held vision, and one that I didn't compromise. I didn't sell out, but I stayed true to my soul, and it's beautiful. It's humbling to see what it's doing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. For all the listeners, You Are the One. Just put that in Amazon. It pops right up. The author's name, Coot, and that is Kute Blackson. And you could actually throw that in Google and it pops right up too. But go to Amazon and you can check out the book, the one that many New York Times bestselling authors are saying is an absolute incredible read. I mean, there's so many incredible authors, so many great testimonials. Go ahead and check that out, guys. And Coot, thank you so much for your time here on the show and really sharing all the energy, all the passion, all the life you put into every word. I know that we're all feeling that here through the speakers. Coot, thank you so much for your time and your energy here.
Thank you, man. It's been a joy, bro. And keep on the good work. It's been a joy hanging with you. I feel your heart too, man.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes, because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Ferebee, founder of knowledgeformen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.